Hello my crafty friends! Are you ready to take some simple crafting supplies like this paper mache box and turn them into some beautiful vintage inspired Americana home decor? If so, let's go ahead and get started with DIY project number 1. For this DIY project, we're going to be using a piece of 1x4. It measures 3.5 inches, but it's called a 1x4. And we're cutting it into 3 5.5-inch pieces. So we're going to start by taking our top piece, because what we're going to make is a cute little Patriotic book stack. And we're going to start by painting this white. Okay, so now we have our pieces painted. And our blue piece, which is going to be our bottom piece, is going to be painted on the bottom, left blank here, a little bit here, and then the sides are painted. Then we have our middle piece, which is going to be open on both sides and then painted on the edges. And then we have our top piece, which is going to be open on the bottom side and painted on the top side. And we are going to add some red stripes to this block here. And to do that, I think I'm going to use this blue painter's tape. And then we're just going to paint them red. All right, so now we have that done. We have our stripes on there, so that's good. So now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry a little bit further, and I'm going to then distress my stripes. Or, you know what, let's just put it together. Well, first off, let's do this, because we're going to let that dry. But I want to add a little bit of stain to this one around the edge, because I'm going to be putting something on top of it, and I want it to be kind of distressed. And to do that, I think what I'm going to do is do a dry brush in this kind of brown color. Yeah, that's what we'll do. I was going to use stain, but then one of the steps that we're going to do, it won't work with. So we're going to take and just dry brush the edges. All right. And I also added some of the red and the blue to the brown, and I think that looks so good. I wanted it all to kind of blend but be rustic. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pieces out and I'm going to distress them. So let's get that done, and then we'll continue on and finish up our project. All right, so now we have our pieces distressed and stained. And now we're just going to put them together with some glue. And I'm going to be using a mixture of a little bit of hot glue, just a tiny tad, and some wood glue. And I'm going to be using this. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that now. And now that they've dried, we're going to embellish them. And I'm going to be using some white stars I printed out in a permanent white vinyl. And I'll have these listed in my shop, these little decals with the, and then it's going to say stars and stripes in a permanent white vinyl. And I'll have those listed for you in case you want to replicate one yourself and you don't have a vinyl cutter. And I'm just going to put my stars down here on the bottom. All right, and once we have our decals on, we have what looks like this. I think that looks so cute. Now, I'm going to take mine out and I'm going to give it 3 good coats of the Rust-Oleum clear coat in a satin. So let's get that done, then we'll finish it up with a few little embellishments. Okay, my crafty friends, do you love the book stacks? I have to admit, I am a sucker for these little book stacks. I just love them. I love making them. I love sitting them around. I'm obsessed with them, honestly. And I think this one turned out super, super cute. What do you guys think? And if you guys want to recreate one for yourself, I'll have the decals in my shop for you. So, with that said, let's go ahead and continue on to our next Americana project. Now to start, you're going to need this paper mache box with a lid. We're going to paint the outside of our drum navy blue. And I'm going to be using this apple barrel matte. And you can get it at Walmart. And it's in an Admiral blue. So let's go ahead and start the painting process. Now we have our container painted blue, and we're going to paint the lid brown. And all right, so now we have our drum painted, we have our lid painted. Now what we're going to do is we're going to glue these two together. Okay, so now we have what looks like this. Now we're going to set this aside for now, and we're going to continue on, and we are going to take, well actually, let's do this first. We're going to take some fabric, and you'll see I already cut a piece of the fabric out, and what I did with that fabric is I printed on it, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our container, and we're going to put it down like this. And we are going to cut a, probably like, I don't know, I'll probably leave like a couple inches around just so I have some room to trim. But I'm going to take, yeah, I'll take a pencil. We'll see how that goes, right? Or actually, yeah, let's do that. We'll just take a pencil and we'll just draw around it, just roughly. Doesn't have to be perfect because we want it to be rustic. Okay, so now we have that done. Set it over to the side. Then we're going to cut it out. Then we have this piece, and we're going to take this and set it aside. And then once I have the edges roughed up, we're going to take, I put some of that brown paint. And you can use stain with this too, which I think that would work really, really well. So, but I'm going to try the paint first because I already have it mixed up with some water. Doesn't that look like chocolate milk? Ugh, don't drink it though. But it looks like it. It looks like it. Anyway, so we have that. We're going to set our knife aside here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little piece of fabric and I'm going to dunk it in here and then let the fabric dry. So let's see how this goes. I might have to use stain, but let's see. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's browning up nicely. See it in there? Ooh, kind of fun, huh? All right, so now let me get some paper towels and we'll take it out and see what we got. All right. I gotta stick my hand in there. All right, let's see. Let's pull it out. Oh yeah, it looks nice. Looks nice. Okay, let's kind of wring it out a little bit. Wring it out. This is messy, but kind of fun. All right, so now we're going to take and lay our fabric out. Look at it. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. All right, so now we're going to take and dry that with some paper towels on top. Oh yes, that looks so good. Okay, so now I'm going to let this dry. Now, while this is drying, before it dries, I wanted the edges to be a little more rustic, but I didn't want to take the time to fray. So what I did is I decided to give this a try, and this is, what is this, 80 grit? Yeah, this is 80 grit coarse sandpaper, and I just put it on a piece of scrap wood I have here, and I'm just sanding the edges of my fabric, and it is turning out fantastically rustic. So I thought this was a great idea. Just because I'm too lazy, I've discovered it. Now, other people might already be doing this, but it really works. Look at that frayed edge. Look at that. I love it. Okay, so let's let this finish drying, and then maybe we'll come in and give it a little more fraying, but I think it looks good the way it is. Yeah, she can't see the baby. They said, where's Miss River? There she is. Yes, she is. There's a Miss River. What are you doing? You pretty girl. You are so beautiful. Okay, we got to get back to work. Now, while we're waiting for our round piece of fabric to dry, I wanted to show you what I did is I printed on fabric with my regular just printer, and I think it turned out fantastic. What do you guys think? I love how this turned out, so I thought, well, I'll share it with you. And what I did is I took a piece of standard cardstock paper that I send through my printer, and I took it out and I sprayed it with this Craft Bond spray. I sprayed the whole paper down. Then I just took my fabric and I laid my fabric down onto my piece of paper, glue on it, and I just flattened it out and stuck the edges down. Now once it was stuck, I just came in and I trimmed very close the edge of the fabric to my paper. And the one edge, it just has to be the one edge. You make sure that all the edges are stuck down, but the one edge that you want stuck the most is the one that's going to go feed into the printer. So just make sure that's fed in, and then you just take your image, you hit print, and off it goes. We're going to take this now. I still have to Mod Podge it to my blue container. So I need to figure out how much I want of the flag on my container. And I think what I'm going to do is do all of the stars and then cut off at that stripe there at the bottom. So let's do that. Let's trim that up. But now we just want to Mod Podge it down to our barrel like that. Now I don't know if I want to make the edges distressed or not. I'm not sure, because I think the Mod Podge is going to flatten them down anyway. So let's go ahead and stick it down. I'm going to get our Mod Podge here. All right, and then once we have our flag on, I did a full coat all over with the matte Mod Podge. And I think it's looking so good. Don't you love that rustic look? I do. All right, so now we have our round piece of fabric that we dyed with the paint. And I want to add something to the top of this, and I was going to add 1776 to the top, but I had this stencil that I cut out from another project, and I think what I'm going to try and do is paint this on, stencil it onto the fabric. So let's see how that goes. Let's get it off here. That's like ASMR or whatever they call that. Whatever the kids are calling it nowadays. All right, so now we have what looks like this. How beautiful is that? I love it so much. Oh my goodness. All right, so now that everything's dried, we got our Mod Podge on our little container. We have our stars and everything painted on the back side of our fabric. So now we're going to take and glue, put some hot glue around the edge, and we're going to glue our bucket down to our fabric. And you'll just want to keep working with it, making sure it's nice and tight. Perfect. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and put a little bit of glue right around the edge, and then we're just going to bring our fabric up into the glue. So let's see how that goes. All right, so now we have what looks like this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and we are going to put some twine on it. And I'm going to be using some of this twine. So we're going to take our twine, and we're also going to take some of these upholstery tacks. And you can purchase these anywhere, and I'll link some below for you guys. I might even put it here somewhere. It might pop up where you can find these. But what we're going to do is we're going to take and put one. We're going to start right here and find the center of our drum here, and then we're going to press it into our so we'll have it just like that. And then we're going to find the back of our thing. We want to do it spread out, and the best way to do that is to look from the bottom or from above, and you'll find your second spot that you want, and we'll put that in there. These are a little tough to get in at first, but once you get them going, then they pop right in like that. So, and then we're going to take and do one here in between these two. Okay, so then once we have those in, and I'm not sure how much I want. Yeah, okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some more tacks, and we're going to put them in the top, but between these two. So you just eye it up and find the center best you can. There we go. All right, so now we have our little grommet things in, our little, whatever they're called, upholstery tacks. We have those in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our twine and we're going to weave it along the brads or the upholstery tacks. So what you'll want to do is pull out your upholstery tacks just a little bit, and I might add a little bit of glue in them once I get it done here, but I don't know. I think it might be fine too. We'll see. We'll see. But we're going to start, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the front. We're going to put it behind our tack, push that down, then we're going to bring it down to this bottom tack. We're going to string it through and then push it in. All right, so now we have this piece with our 1776 on there. And now I want to add a little bit of trim to the top here. And you can do it with the twine. You can do however you would like. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this wire and I'm going to glue it around the top side of the drum. Like that, right on top of my upholstery tacks. So let's get that done and see where we're at. All right, and then once we're done gluing our trim around, we're left with this cute little primitive Americana drum. But what's a drum without drumsticks, right? So let's make those as our companion piece to our drum. And for that, I'm just going to be using, actually, these are just some little dowels. I think they were originally like the barbecue skewers from Dollar Tree, the big ones, or maybe I got them at Walmart. I think I got them at Walmart. I'll link them if I got them at Walmart for you guys. And you'll also need some wooden balls or beads of some sort, and I'm just going to be using beads for mine. I got these beads, I don't even remember where. So we're just going to use beads for this. And then I'm going to be using some of the twine as well for my project. Or I might do, yeah, I'll do the twine. I think I'll do the twine. But anyways, this is going to be quite easy. And I think I'm just going to use hot glue. But I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue. Now, you have to make sure that the bead hole or your wood knob is going to be wide enough to fit inside your beads. So I'm just going to stick a little bit of hot glue inside there. So let's go ahead and just wrap our twine round, round, round our handles. So let's do that. Hey, hey, my crafty friends. If you like what you see so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And I'm going to take mine and wrap it back up around to make it a little bit thicker. All right, and then we have our little rustic drumsticks. So now I want to add a little bit of fun rusticness to the top here. And I'm just going to take some of this red and white ticking fabric from another project, which if you guys didn't see that one yet, I'll link that video down below. But that was so much fun making that project. But using this fabric was fun. So We're just going to tie a little piece of fabric on there, and the more rustic, the better. All right, my craft friends, what did you think of our little drum project? I think it's so cute with its little drumsticks, and I hope it inspires you to make one for yourself. I just think it turned out so cute, and I love it. All right, well, let's go ahead and continue on to our next DIY. For this DIY, we're going to be using this 12-inch wood round from Walmart. And the brand is Hello Hobby. And I just love the quality of these blank door hangers, and I love the thickness as well. Now we start by dividing our wood round into thirds. And my middle section measures 4.5 inches. Once we have it divided into thirds, we're now going to tape off our sections. And I want to tape off the top and the bottom because we're going to paint the top a dark blue and we're going to paint the bottom a white. All right, now it's dry. And we're going to leave our paint tape just as it is, but I'm going to paint red stripes here. And to do that, I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to just tape off my starter line right here, because this is going to be my red line. All right, now that it's dried, I'm going to take mine out and just lightly distress the edges of it, and then I'm going to stain the complete board on the edges and on the back. So let me do that and then we'll continue on with the project. All right, so now we have it distressed. We have the back stained and the sides, and you can see the distressing I added to it. It's very cute. Now we're going to embellish our project, and first I'm going to start by putting some vinyl, permanent white vinyl stars up here on the blue. There we go. So now we have that on. And our next decal we're going to be adding is so cute, and it is my favorite quote of the season. It is, I am so in love with this. So now we have this beautiful, oh my gosh, I love this so much. We have this beautiful door hanger. All right, my crafty friends, what did you think of this project? I think it turned out so cute. And I love this quote. This quote is my favorite quote so far of this season. I love it. Also, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to have the custom vinyl decal and a sheet of the stars in my shop for sale, just in case you guys want to recreate one for yourself. So then all you have to do is pick up your paint and your wood round from Walmart, and that's very easy to do. I'll have it linked down below for you. You just click on it, add it to your cart, pay for it. You can either pick it up or you can have it delivered to your home, which I think is fantastic, right? So anyway, let me know down below what your favorite DIY was of this video. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed, you know what to do. We'd love to have you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Well, until next time, make sure and keep it crafty, my friends.